In Full Zoom is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
Good day, everyone, and welcome back for another edition of In Full Zoom. I'm Nestor Lecanto, and I'm pleased to welcome our guest for this week, Terry DeBold, representing Calvo Enterprises and the iconic Tea Lovers Point. We have Dave Tidinko from the Valley of the Latte, and Brad Koppenberg from KEI, also known as Turtle Tours. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
Morning.
All right, so let me just kind of set the table as we always do here on In Full Zoom, and just ask you to talk a little bit about your business and also how the COVID has impacted. And I'll start with you, Terry.
Good morning. Good day to everybody. Half a day. With Calvo Enterprise, we have somewhat diverse businesses. Aside from the realty management, we also operate GU self-storage. But our big one, of course, that people mostly recognize is Two Lovers Point or Punta Dos Amantes. The COVID situation has dramatically affected our business, as it has the entire tourism community. I think that we've done our best to accommodate some of our employees. There was a lot of work. This was an opportunity for us to perhaps do some upgrades, maintenance, and continue to just enhance the park area. So while we were able to help accommodate some of the employees, obviously we couldn't take care of everybody with the number of hours. So economically, I think affected not just the business, but also the staff that we have up there. From a business standpoint, again, I think that I guess I have to commend the private community, the business community, in that I think the GHRA, the chamber, have worked collaboratively with GDB, and I think they've done the best that they can to provide us with some kind of guidance as to how to just get some relief, but also to how to plan on moving forward after this pandemic has gotten, after we've gotten.
Thank you. And Dave, tell us about Valley of the Latte.
Well, just like Terry and the rest of the tourism industry, as of March 20, we shuttered our operations to guests. And like all businesses that have been impacted by this, we use this opportunity to re-engineer ourselves. We're doing maintenance work. We're doing dry docking on one of the boats. We're maintaining the area, but we've also taken the opportunity to look at what information is out there to make it safe for our people as well as our guests to come through. I have the opportunity to have a few doctors come by and actually walk through the facility with us, make some significant recommendations for us, like standing up wash stations, making sure there's more circulation in the area. So we're going through this process to make sure that when they give the green light to open, that we will be ready. I think, though, that as we are preparing, rather than wait for July 1 and open the doors for tourism, we're going to highly recommend that the government and the governor consider allowing us tourist attractions to open up for our local people to be able to see what we've done and give them confidence that we have done the things necessary to make our place safe. I need to say this. I need to give accolades to the administration for what they have done to make us safe. We are, as an island community and a region, safer because of the actions that the governor took early. And that is why in a conference call we had this morning, the source markets of Japan and Korea and Taiwan that we hope to open up soon are looking at us as one of the places that is safe to travel to because of the early actions of the administration and the efforts of our entire community of taking heed of social distancing and all these other practices. It has impacted our people, our employees. We're doing our best to help them, but at the same token, it's given us a chance to retool and re-engineer ourselves to make sure it's safe for all our guests, both international and local, to come back and visit with us.
All right, thanks, Dave. And Brad, how about KEI and Turtle Tours?
Well, we're, like everyone else, as soon as the quarantines were put in place and the tourist arrivals basically went down to zero, we were kind of forced to, park our fleet and cut a lot of our operations. Probably over 50% of what we do is tourism related, whether it be, different bus transportation, shopping shuttles, airport transfers, optional tours, and some ground handling services. So pretty much everything came to a standstill, and we have some limited government stuff, transportation-wise, that we've been able to maintain. And so we've, kind of anxiously been awaiting some signs of when tourism is going to return, and thankfully this week we were finally given the date of July 1st, which is kind of what within the industry we were targeting to begin with. And so now that that's been announced, we can start the process of making sure the industry is ready to start getting tourists back here.
In Full Zoom is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. In Full Zoom is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
And as you guys have alluded to, July 1st is the date. I'm wondering what you think how Guam should be marketed, because I think one of the things that the governor also mentioned when she made the announcement was that Guam initially will be marketed as a safe place. Dave alluded to it. Talk a little bit about that, Terry, marketing Guam initially as that safe place to come to.
Just maybe I think, Dave, maybe a month ago or so, the Guam Visitors Bureau had come out with a very nice video marketing campaign that they were going to start launching. And I think they're going to be proceeding with that very shortly. I think it was, used the acronym GUAM, but it was just kind of like telling people to keep us in your mind, keep Guam in your mind as a site to visit, and that we are going to be safe. And I think, according to the Japan Marketing Committee information we've received, is that the primary concern for Japanese customers, only because that's the committee I serve on, their primary concern is that the destination is COVID safe. Now, I don't think any place can necessarily be COVID-free or guarantee a COVID-free environment, but I think being as safe as we possibly can and providing, showing that we're taking the extra measures to keep our facilities clear, we're adhering to all the government guidelines. As long as we market that, I think if we really emphasize the fact that this is a very safe place, that we still have a lot of culture, a lot of beauty, people are going to want to get out of their houses as much as we do here. The other countries, the potential tourists, are going to also want to venture out at some point. I mean, I'm not one to suggest how soon or at what rate we're going to be able to recover, but I tend to remain confident that we've overcome a lot of other adversity. This one is obviously probably at the height of all of our experiences, but I think that we will recover from this.
Right, thank you. I think Dave, Terry was referencing an excellent video, the Give Us a Moment video. I thought that had a lot of impact. Talk about July 1st. What are your expectations?
Well, I'm going to go back to when they made the order to shutter in or shelter in place. A few of us realized that at some point we are going to have to prepare to open. And as we continue to rely on the science and the medical advice as to when we can reopen, we organized a group of small businesses who said, okay, while the experts in the medical field are determining when it will be safe to allow some return to normalcy, we need to figure out what that new normal was going to look like. So we've organized a group. It's now gotten to a point where the University of Guam serves as that platform to be able to focus on helping our businesses recover at a number of levels. Number one, we stood up this website, guamrecovery.com. that is a one-stop shop for people, whether they're a business or an employee or just a consumer. They can go and get all information relative to COVID and our recovery efforts, so that they don't have to go to multiple websites to try to gather this information. And that is up and running now. We partnered with the university to be able to try to figure out what else we can do to help all our businesses and our members of our community. And it's going to be it's going to be based on research. We know anecdotally what our consumers in our source markets as well as Guam want in terms of being able to be confident to go out and be safe. But we are going to go do empirical research to make that happen. And the university as well is standing up certification programs to help businesses that may not have the resources to actually go through an audit themselves and make themselves safe. And so they're doing that as well. And then they're also, on top of that, going to launch a campaign that will help in doing this contact tracing. Some of the research involved in that. Again, from a private sector side, what do we need to stand up so when the government says go, we are ready, as opposed to waiting until they say go and then we try to figure all that out.
Yeah, and thank you. That's an excellent website. And Dave's son, Adam, had a big part in developing that. I recommend that everybody should go check that out. It's an excellent resource. Brad, what are you expecting come July 1st?
Well, we're still kind of waiting for some guidelines that I believe should be forthcoming from the government, from public health or the governor's office, specifically for travel-related businesses on island and what is expected of us, and then what the tourists can expect upon arrival. In terms of July 1, I think everyone needs to realize that, just because we're open for tourists at that point, I wouldn't expect very many to be coming. I mean, it's probably going to be a few months. They still have quarantines in their home countries, so they have to worry about whether they're going to be quarantined when they go home. So these things all need to be lifted before people really think about making their bookings and in planning ahead. I know with the Japan market, they usually make their travel arrangements months in advance, whereas Korea has traditionally been more weeks in advance. They're able to put together some quick trips, and everything's sourced online. So I mean, the expectations of visitors, I don't think we'll see any real meaningful numbers in terms of a return, probably till sometime in the fall, where you'll start to see signs that there is some recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's pretty much the consensus. It's going to be a slow uphill climb of arrivals.
In Full Zoom is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. In Full Zoom is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
I wanted to switch topics a little bit, Terry, and talk about, I know that all of you guys are involved with GVB, even Dave is a past chairman. What specifically should the government be doing to help out the tourism industry in general?
I think they would probably agree that there's just so many variables right now. As Brad has mentioned, it's not just about us opening our doors, but it's also about the environments within the areas from where our tourists come from. Japan is different from Korea. What Japan is facing is different from what Korea is facing right now. I mean, we hear different news we hear different stories in the news every day. This morning I heard there was another breakout in the South Korea area again, which, we just couldn't have anticipated. So given those variables and also new guidelines, things that we're learning, I think even the government's learning about how to best prepare yourselves. I think each day, as long as they continue to maintain the communication as they have, And GVB has been somewhat the liaison, or they're the ones that reach out to the industry. So I think they've done a very good job at that with it by issuing the JICs every day. And as long as they can continue to do that, one thing I think that maybe GVB might be able to do is, I think they're preparing to do it, is step up and assist some of the tourism businesses, the businesses in the industry, with some supplies, things, because there's going to be exponential costs in some of their cleaning and the disinfecting types of solutions and things. I think there's going to be a lot of increases in costs in terms of, I can speak for our company. We have to anticipate some increase in, for instance, labor costs. I know that some businesses, if you have 100 or more customers, you have to have a dedicated attendant at the restroom. Is, if you read now, I'm not sure, it probably changes according to certain businesses, but that's one of the guidelines. And we have to figure out, okay, does that dedicated attendant mean they can't leave that restroom, or does it mean they can be cross-utilized in other areas? We just need, and I think as we go along, we ask the questions and we receive the information back. But I think they are doing their job in communicating the best they can. I think it's the due diligence of all of the members to read that material and perhaps use it as guidance. I mean, some of the things may not be practical for your business, but do the best that you can and use it as a guide. And don't attack the intent of the guidelines and say, well, this is ridiculous or whatever, because again, they're guidelines. And I think that all we can do is use that to help us as we move forward and try to, like we're trying to do, is provide safety for our employees, our customers, and all of the visitors that are going to be coming.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Dave? Obviously, as Terry has mentioned, there's going to be some additional costs imposed because of the health guidelines in what is already a very price-sensitive industry.
Well, first off, as GVB is going through a little transition, I'm glad that Governor Leon Guerrero appointed Governor Gutierrez, as well as the board has appointed Jerry Perez there during this interim period to provide the leadership as they're moving forward. As we try to open up our island, I think the Visitors Bureau as well can really reach out to our local community. Our first and foremost responsibility, even as a Visitors Bureau, should be for our people of Guam. And as we create a campaign that says, give us a moment and then, let's get moving, I think the same level of effort needs to be put in a communications campaign to let our local people know what we in the visitor industry are doing to make it safe, not just for tourists coming over, but for making sure that when they do come over, it's safe for them to be here and be amongst our community. And I think, they've done a great job of a number of different programs, keeping the community aware of tourism and its value to our people. But I also think now is an opportunity to reach out to our community and say, this is kind of where we're at. And we're getting our infrastructure ready to open our economy. But first and foremost, our responsibility is to make sure when we do open, it's safe for our community to open. And I think that's one of the targets that needs to be looked at as well.
A good point, because we're already hearing from other in other places, social media, concerns from the local community that why are you opening it up this soon? And they're fearful of infected people bringing the virus to Guam. When we've been able to control it so much. Brad, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, just in terms of opening and the concerns that the local community may have. I mean, the guidelines are going out. There's more and more coming out all the time as more businesses start to reopen. You just saw the other day the guidelines went out for in-dining restaurants and what they need to follow. And so I'm confident that we'll see similar guidelines coming out for transportation, for optional tours. And I think, like you kind of alluded to before, that this opening of the tourism sectors, it's really going to be slow. You're not going to have a flood of people day one come rushing in through the airport. So that's going to give us the time to kind of slowly work all these new procedures and guidelines into everyday business as it's going to be going forward for the foreseeable future.
In Full Zoom is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. In Full Zoom is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
We talked a little bit earlier about marketing initially Guam as a safe place, but is this an opportunity, do you think, to look even further forward? And do we need to change our image, or should we continue down the path that has been so successful over the last few decades? Terry, what do you think?
I think our attention is right now so much on the recovery, what to anticipate. I think that there's a lot of opportunity in perhaps diversifying our image. The industry in and of itself has changed dramatically. I think the demographics of the type of people that visit Guam have obviously changed. The places where they come from. I mean, for an island that predominantly welcomed 90%, 99% Japanese tourists, now having flipped and splitting that with the Korean industry and also Philippines, the U.S. There's so many changes right now. It's definitely something that we should have foresight and perhaps have a certain group of people that are starting to look at that. But I'd like to think that our focus remain right now on overcoming the challenges that we face with the COVID situation and starting to create the path forward, reaching out to people to let them know we're safe. I think we really need to put all of our emphasis into that, because I think it's going to take quite a bit of funding from GVB. I know we've been requesting it from the JMC. I'm sure Dave's more familiar with that. But I mean, just the recovery effort itself it's going to cost a lot of money for us. I think that that's my biggest request, is that the government do set aside money to help GVB in its efforts to recover in the various markets that we're in right now. I think GVB has done a great job, and as Dave mentioned with former Governor Carl, Tara's coming on board, and Jerry, with their background and experience, I do believe that provided with the proper resources, they have a great team and the support of the community to help this island move forward with what we've been doing for the past decade. In other words, just to help us get back on our feet, at which point we can start revisiting, perhaps diversifying or changing our market strategy.
Yeah, and I think funding, as you mentioned, is going to be an issue. I mean, we're already seeing that the government's not going to have a lot of money. We're relying heavily on federal funding, but a lot of times that's kind of restricted to certain things. So, Dave, what do you think about the future, looking down the line at marketing tourism on Guam?
Here is our opportunity to reimagineer ourselves as well. We have a fundamental strength as a destination, and we should continue to rely on that. But Jerry Perez did a little presentation for us, and he talked about the Guam that should be leveraging technology to be able to deliver a great experience for our guests. This pandemic is going to change the way we do business fundamentally anyways. And we've got to determine, leveraging the use of technology, how we can make the various touch points along the way seamless and be able to allow our guests and our people to be able to enjoy what we deliver. But again, using the technology that's available, whether it's making online reservations or it's being able to go through and be able to do things without having to touch or necessarily do things that we traditionally do today. And there's so much technology out there. It's a matter of us harnessing what that technology is and how we can use it to better the experience, and it be rooted in a fundamental plan of providing a safe, hygienic, great, unique experience that Guam can offer, but again, driven by what is available through technology. And that's our ability to be able to provide this experience, again, using what we can learn from other destinations and apply here.
Yeah, that's a good point. And just really quickly, maybe you can talk about the TripAdvisor and Shop. I forget exactly what the term is. But GVB has been kind of starting along those lines of using more technology. Yeah, Dave.
Yes, I totally agree. And again, there are so many different components to making the experience great using technology. And I'm not the techno guy, but I've seen it in other destinations, and I think we can look at those best practices to be able to do that. And it's just really, again, allowing us to learn from ourselves as well as other destinations about how we can move ourselves with technology to make our experience a lot better and hopefully more efficient and less expensive. Because I agree with Terry, the challenge we're faced today in the traditional methods of us responding to this crisis is costing a lot of money and at sacrificing other things that we normally would do because of this pandemic. And so really we're hoping leveraging technology is going to make us more efficient and more cost effective as well.
And Brad, so what should the future, or what is our opportunity for reshaping perhaps the future of tourism here in Guam?
Well, I think initially, as both Terry and Dave mentioned, a lot of the money is going to go towards the public health aspect of the industry and adhering to the new guidelines and sanitation and so forth. But long term, when you kind of look at Guam and even pre-COVID, there was always the discussion that we kind of need to upgrade things, the tourism infrastructure. It had been 20 years since the last major improvement with Pleasure Island was done, and you look around to some of the building infrastructure needs upgrades, which in some cases is starting to happen. The Fiesta Hotel, I guess, is going to be going through a major multi-million-dollar renovation and rebranding, as well as we have the Subaki Tower coming online. Would have been open by now, from what I hear, if we hadn't have COVID. So we'll probably, hopefully see more of that, as well as some improvements outside of Tumon, maybe in terms of landscaping and what have you, upgraded building infrastructure. Over the last several years, especially with the increase in the tourist arrivals from Korea, a lot of our visitors have been venturing out more from Tumon and going out on their own in rent-a-cars and visiting other portions of the island, the southern part. So we kind of have to think more beyond just Tumon now. I mean, we have to think of Guam in its entirety as a tourist spot.
Real quickly, Brad, just to give you the last word, you optimistic about the future of tourism?
Yeah, I think we have some opportunities. Just in terms of the immediate recovery, we are a close destination to our major markets. We're relatively, had a relatively low so far overall count of COVID cases compared to other destinations. So I think things will come back, but it is going to be slow. I mean, everybody needs to prepare themselves for that. We were doing record numbers, the 2-3 years prior to all of this, and it took us 50 years to get there. So it's not all going to come back overnight, so there's going to have to be adjustments made along the way. And I think given the severity of the economic impact to businesses, I think unfortunately, many of them won't want to reopen once things start coming back. They'll make the decisions that it's just they're better off staying closed, which is unfortunate, but it gives those that stay in the game an opportunity to kind of rebuild their they're tourist-related activities, optional tours, restaurants, and so forth. So I think we will recover, but it's not like recovering from a typhoon, where you're shut down for a couple of days and it blows through, and then you immediately start the recovery. This is going to be a long haul recovery.
Well said. Fascinating discussion, gentlemen. Wish we had more time, but we are out of it. Thank you for joining us. Terry DeBold, Dave Tedinko, and Brad Kloppenberg, our guests for this edition of In Full Zoom. I'm Nestor Lecanto. Thanks for watching, everyone.
In Full Zoom is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.